All right, let's just jump right in. You know the feeling, right? You're staring at a blank page, waiting for that one brilliant, world-changing idea to just strike you like a bolt of lightning. But what if that whole approach is wrong? What if, instead of waiting for an idea, you could build a machine to make them?
I mean, it seems like a simple question, doesn't it? But how you answer it, well, it fundamentally changes everything about how you approach creativity. Is it some kind of magic, or is it something you can actually control?
Yeah, this is the image we all have in our heads, isn't it? The lone genius in a messy room, the sudden eureka moment. It's a really romantic idea, but let's be honest, it's totally unreliable. We treat innovation like it's this force of nature that we just have to wait for.
So, first things first, we're going to take a hammer to that whole idea. Seriously. It's time to completely dismantle this myth of inspiration, because relying on it is just, well, it's not a professional way to work.
You know, the sociologist Max Weber, he absolutely nailed this over a century ago. Inspiration is not a strategy. Luck and professionalism, they just don't mix. Waiting around for a muse to show up, that's for hobbyists. Professionals build a process.
And this analogy, it's perfect. Just think about it for a second. Would you ever hire an architect who just shows up to a construction site and yells, "All right, everyone, just start building. Go with your gut"? Of course not. You'd want plans, schematics, a system. Yet, when it comes to ideas, the very blueprints of our projects, we do that all the time.
And that leads to these kinds of habits, these all too common strategies that, frankly, just don't work. We wait for the spark. We burn out the one person on the team we think is the creative one. We make a single leader the bottleneck for all innovation. Or we have those awful, chaotic brainstorms where good ideas just go to die. These aren't systems. They're basically just games of chance. So, okay, if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, this next part introduces a completely new way to think about this. It's time to stop waiting and start building. Here it is. This is the big mental flip we all need to make. What if we treated coming up with ideas not like some fine art, but like an industrial process, something predictable, reliable, and seriously powerful?
And boom, here it is. This visual just explains the whole concept beautifully. Look at all the raw materials, the inputs going in on the left. They get processed through the middle, and out come the finished products, the brilliant ideas on the right. This isn't chaos anymore. It's a factory. It's a system that's designed to manufacture great ideas whenever you need them. So here's the bottom line. We're talking about a process that is repeatable, manageable, and even scalable. It takes all the mystery out of creativity and turns it into a core skill, a business capability that literally anyone can learn and participate in.
Okay, so a machine sounds great, but how does it actually work? Well, it runs on 3 core principles, 3 distinct stages that you absolutely have to follow in the right order.
First up, generate. This stage is all about pure volume. No judgment, no criticism. Quantity is everything. Then you move on to condense. Here you start sifting through everything, combining little fragments, filtering out the noise, and shaping that raw material into real, solid concepts. And then, and only then, do you get to the final stage, select. This is where you evaluate those solid concepts against clear, predefined criteria and make a decision. Generate, condense, select. That's the mantra.
And listen, if you only take one thing away from this, let it be this. This is the #1 mistake that kills creativity. You absolutely positively cannot mix these stages. The second you start judging an idea while you're still trying to generate them, the whole machine just grinds to a halt.
So there's this great or, well, terrible story from an advertising agency. They were in a brainstorm to name a new car. Someone threw out the first name, and immediately the whole team started picking it apart, debating it. You know what happened? 5 minutes later, they had a grand total of 4 weak names on the board. They mixed generating with selecting, and it just destroyed all the creative momentum in the room. Okay, so the main rule is keeping those stages separate. But what's the fuel for this machine? What does it need to run? Well, it all starts with the input you put into that very first stage, generation.
Now, this might feel a little counterintuitive, but it is absolutely essential. At the beginning, you are not looking for good ideas. You are looking for a lot of ideas. Quality is actually the enemy of quantity in this first phase. You just want raw material, scraps, fragments, half-baked thoughts, as much as you can possibly get.
So your job here is to just cram that input hopper full of everything you can find. Let's say you're designing a new app.
You'd want ideas from your engineers for sure, but you'd also want them from your sales team, from customer support, maybe even from people who've never used your products before. The more diverse the input, the more innovative the output can be.
Okay, look at this number, 3,000. Just let that sink in for a second. What on earth could that represent when we're talking about innovation? And there it is, that's the punchline. You need about 3,000 raw inputs to get to just one winning commercially successful idea. Think about that. If you're starting a brainstorm and you only come up at 10 ideas, the odds are just overwhelmingly against you. You need a mountain of raw material to find that one little nugget of gold.
All right, so let's pull all these threads together. What is the fundamental shift we're really talking about here? It's a move from one world, one way of thinking, to a completely different one.
I mean, just look at this comparison. It's night and day, right? We're moving away from just waiting for a lone genius and toward a systematic, reliable process. And that last point is so important, a defined playground. That just means having clear rules, like separating the stages. And funnily enough, having that structure doesn't stifle creativity. It actually gives people the safety and freedom to explore wildly within those boundaries.
And that really brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. Stop chasing individual ideas. Stop waiting for them. Instead, focus on building a robust, reliable, and repeatable system, an idea machine. And the great ideas will just be the natural output.
Because once you really see creativity, not as this random moment of inspiration, but as a process of manufacturing, everything changes. So the only question left is, when are you going to start construction?